All right, guys, welcome to the next project here in Photoshop. As a new content creator, you need to build a set of design options for designing your brand. There's no way to really arrive at what exactly the look and style and titles and fonts and colors that you might want without making a few options and kind of laying them out there. And if you're working with a brand, if they don't already have that defined, then you're going to want to be able to create some mock-ups so that they can see and kind of choose so you know where to go with your other content. Plus, it'll be a great portfolio piece for your design options in the future. So, using a photo of yourself as an artist or business, you're going to go through and create 5 different options for a portfolio pitch. So choose 5 different tutorials from the from the add visual effects categories of the hands-on tutorials. So over in Photoshop, under the help hands-on menu, hands-on tutorials, in class or out of class is homework. You've already gone through orientation, select and mask, composite, and add text. We've gone through all of those and worked through a lot of those in class, worked outside of the tutorials, teaching you faster ways, shortcuts, more professional methods, quicker ways to jump around and alternative paths than just what you see in the tutorials. But once you've got those down, those are going to give you the foundation for doing these to add visual effects and create a design proposal. So inside of these, you're going to pick 5 different ones, go through and do the tutorial just like the others, but I'm going to show you what I did with this one to make one of my own. So having walked through this make a glitch art effect with a clipping mask, you can see it started off with an image of this artist just like this. We've added this pattern in, and then once we created a copy of the pattern and put that over the top, we were able to switch to our move tool, and by moving this subject or the pattern around, we create a very different sort of glitchy effect after creating a clipping mask. So once you've done that, ultimately, we're going to try to create a similar sort of thing with a photo of our own, and then we'll add some text that aligns with a potential option for the brand, and then we'll be able to go from there. So here's the quickest way I'd recommend to do this. Once you've followed the tutorial and got to the point where you've got a finished piece, I'm going to go find an image of my own. In this case, I took a quick photo with Photo Booth, and even though it's got a lot of unnecessary stuff in the background, we're going to work through how to get around that. So I'm going to first drag and drop it right into the middle, and you can see right now it put it behind the top file. So I'm going to sit and drag it down to the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off that pattern and subject copy because I don't think I'm going to need those. So now that I've got this glitch of me here in the background, I need to resize it to fit the screen. We can resize with Transform or Command T. By the way, the shortcuts will show up here in the corner. So I'm going to grab this, resize him up into the corners. And here in just a second, I am going to need a background that's not these little backgrounds. I also want to flip this horizontally. So I'm going to Command T again, right click on it and choose to flip horizontal. So that's going to put it at least facing the same way as the artist. You can, of course, take creative license with that. Now, in order to get rid of this background, I need to essentially create one. So I need to select the subject, select subject, and it does a surprisingly good job of selecting all around. Misses a couple little tips of hair here, but we could either zoom in really close, use something like our lasso tool to go in, hold the shift key down, or make sure we're in add to selection, and we could go through and try to add just a few other little areas right here and try to pick up some of those. I'm going to switch to the regular lasso tool and hold the shift key down and add just a little few extra hairs. But otherwise, I think that's looking pretty good. Oh, little piece right here, holding my shift key down and selecting that. And I think we're in pretty good shape. So I need to go ahead and hide that background, and the fastest way to do that is with a mask. So I'm going to click this mask button, and you'll see that masks it out. Now I'm going to turn off that other old subject because we don't need her anymore, but I do need some kind of background here. So we're going to need to make one. So if you remove the subject yourself from a background, you don't have a good background behind it, let's just make one with a gradient. So I'm going to come and add a new layer, and I'm going to call that background. And I need to put it behind, of course, underneath my image here, my glitch person. And I'm going to switch to my gradient tool. And with your gradient tool selected, now we have the option up here of choosing different types of gradients. We've got basics, like foreground to background. So if you have colors chosen here, it'll be those. Foreground to transparent, or black and white. Now there's lots of others in here, but I'm just going to stick with black and white for now and hit OK. And of course, there's different types of gradients we could click. And as we click and drag a point, you see that this is just a linear gradient. So if I clicked and dragged right to left, it goes right to left. The farther I drag the line, the more that gradient extends over space. It could go with something like a circle gradient, But if I want this to just have a bit more general sort of a look, I want that circle to be a lot bigger. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a really long line. And then you see it get a nice big fuzzy black circle, but I don't think I like the black over the black. Let's start in this corner. I'm going to click and drag down so that the black is in the upper left corner and the white is down here. That's looking a little bit better. Cool. All right, so I've got that in place. Let's go ahead and turn on that pattern. And you'll notice this is going to be a little bit different because our original subject was all on a single layer here. She didn't have two different layers with the foreground and the background. She was just this one layer. So I think what I want to do is I need to merge these two layers together. So to do that, I'm going to select my main layer and the background layer, and I want to merge those together. So I could right click on them and choose merge, or the easier way is to simply hit Command E, and that is under the layer menu, and you'll see the option to merge or flatten the image. Merge layers, Command E. So now this is essentially my plain subject background. Good shape. All right, so I'm going to hold my Option key. I've got that pattern still there, but I want to hold the Option key like told in the tutorial. I'm going to Option drag this glitch copy up. So now that glitch copy is actually just a second copy of this above. And when I turn on the pattern below, we don't really see any difference, of course. And if I switch to my Move tool and move this around, I don't see any difference. But what I can do is make a clipping mask. And that was up here under our layer menu to create clipping mask, or Option Command G, or you can simply actually hold down the Option key when you hover between the two layers, and you'll see the little clipping mask icon. That's where you get that little white square with an arrow pointing down. And what that's going to do is mask this based on the pattern of the layer beneath it. So now when I switch to my V key, I can click and drag, and all of a sudden it's clipping that top layer with the white of the pattern below. So I can click and I can drag this around and get one sort of glitch effect. I kind of like that a little bit. Let's maybe try selecting the pattern. I could move that around just a little bit too. I think I like the way it looks with one eyeball kind of cutting through there. It's pretty cool. So there's certainly options, and I just want to make sure I've got at least one eyeball that's sticking through really well. Cool, so there's my little glitch effect. I'm liking it. So now that we've got that, it's time to go ahead and build the rest of our text to build the sort of visual look that we've got here. And you noticed I've hyped this up just a little bit more. So let's go ahead and add some text. So first I'll hit the T key. That's going to give me my text box. I'm going to click and drag and give myself a nice big area right up here to the side of this and come up with some sort of flashy name, something that just communicates the feel I'm going for. So I came up with a glitch in the matrix. Now you're not seeing this text, and that's because it's way too small. So if you're not seeing it, you can either change the text size up here at the top or over on the right in this character palette that flies out. So I'll just select all, Command A, and then I can drag this up, a glitch in the matrix. Now, of course, you can hit the check mark here at the top to accept that, and I'm still not seeing it. Why? Because it's below the glitch copy. So I see that layer over here, so I'm going to click and drag it up. And now we've got something happening there. But I noticed when I dragged that up that it's also clipping down. You see that little arrow pointing? It shows you that it's using this as a clipping mask. That's not what I want. So I'm going to hold that Option key down, and you see now the little clipping mask icon actually has a slash through the downward arrow. So I'm going to click that, and now you see it pops back up. Now, in terms of choosing fonts, I actually already went out and found a font, but you're probably going to have just standard fonts to begin with. But something like a glitch in the matrix and a glitchy matrix doesn't really fit with cursive. So to choose a different font, I can of course come in here, just click on this arrow, and as I move down, if I have all my text selected first, actually I'm going to deselect accept it, and then simply click on the text layer. Now I can open up my character palette, click on this arrow, and as I move through, just with the up and down arrow keys, you see all of a sudden we're getting this cool sort of a quick adjustment, the ability to quickly see different types of fonts. So I found one out online called Matrix. In fact, the easiest way to do this is to just hop onto the internet and put in something like Matrix font. And you'll find places where you can download free fonts. Or of course, there's lots of them that are paid as well. But let's see, if I click on this and I see, oh, here was a Matrix font. So Google's a lot quicker at finding fonts most of the time than I am at sitting and clicking through all of these options. So I could go through, open this one up, choose download, and you'll see it's going to download a little zip file. I'm going to cancel that because I already downloaded it here. I click on my arrow and choose show in Finder. And when I unzipped it, it's actually popped up here on another desktop. You've got a matrix zip file. And when I double clicked on that, it opens up this matrix TTF. If you double click on the matrix true type font, it'll give you the option to install the font. And once you install it, then you'll just need to quit and reopen Adobe Photoshop, and suddenly you will see matrix as one of the options. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Now you don't have to choose the matrix, but I'm going to just say a glitch in the, I kind of like this. I'm going to put matrix down on one more lower line, select those, and let's shrink those up a little bit. A glitch in the, I like it, and let's make matrix nice and big. So I'm just individually selecting words here and then dragging the font to adjust. Now, that's starting to look pretty cool. I do kind of wish I had moved me over just a little bit. I guess I could always crop this too. So I'm actually going to grab the glitch copy, hold down the command key, and grab the glitch layer. So I move them both at the same time. I'll hit the V key to switch to the move tool, and I'm just going to drag those to the right. And now I'm realizing I had to make a slightly different background. This is okay. I like the way this looks. I think I'll probably just crop off the right side. So we've got a glitch in the matrix here, but the text isn't quite doing it for me. It's just white plain text. So I'm going to add some layer effects. So let's go down to the layer effects here in the lower right-hand corner. So we've got new adjustment layer, rather, it's the effects button right here. And when we click on that, you can choose any of these to actually go ahead and have them populate onto the text. So if I choose, for example, like a outer glow, so that the text glows, you see that we get this layer style box, and we can turn on or off any of these, at least for initial idea of what they can do. Gradient overlay, you see it overlays a gradient. Color overlay will overlay a color that then we would come in and choose. But I like this outer glow, and that creates a nice little glow there. We can adjust the opacity of it. Maybe I'll bring it down just a little bit. We can adjust how much noise there is in the glow. And notice when you make it very noisy, it gets very glitchy there, but it doesn't really look glitchy. It just looks like noise. So I'm going to bring that down. And of course, we could make other choices here too. We could change the size of the glow, or maybe bring it down a little bit more. I like to also add things like maybe a stroke. A stroke around the outside kind of gives it this little white line around the edge. So in this case, we could go in, if we choose stroke, we could change how big that is. I don't really want it very big at all. In fact, I'm not sure I want a stroke, but maybe, let's try. We could try something like a pattern. And if I choose my pattern overlay, now we can open up and see what would it look like with some of these patterns. And let's try some. If I hit OK, and not seeing a whole useful bunch of difference there. So I like my outer glow. I'm going to turn off this pattern. Let's see, is there a gradient that we could do? If I choose this gradient and maybe I go like black to white. So let me choose this color. Go with kind of a black. Ooh, it's working cool. And let's make you go to white. And that's not bad, but I feel like we're losing a little bit of that glitch back there. But the glow is causing it to still be visible. So let's maybe take this gradient overlay and bring that opacity down a bit, so it's not quite as obvious. Kind of cool, but it kind of fades off a little bit there into the dark with only the glow remaining. Fun. You could spend a ton of time playing with this, but now I've got a pretty good looking image here. I've followed the steps, and of course I could go in. I want to make sure I brand my name, so I'm going to find a nice little spot here to brand my name. I'm balancing this out diagonally, and let me go ahead and put in Nathan Adam, Dr. Nathan Adam. And again, it's still really small, so I'll just select all, Command A. If you change the text size beforehand, it actually is a little easier. And I'm going to make that nice and small. Hold the, hit the Enter key, or just click on the Commit button. And now I'm going to switch back to my Move tool and put this right here. So very cool. I've got a glitch in the matrix that I've done following along. It's an interesting sort of vibe, and now we can communicate that to our client. Is this the sort of thing that you're interested in? If it is, very cool. If it's not, well, you're going to do this for several others anyway. So what we needed to do originally for this, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out to full screen, is I wanted to have, of course, the original image, which you can get from yourself. You will have the original image, but in this case, it was this one. So I would upload that to the website in the blog post. I would go back to Photoshop and I would get a nice clear. I'd make sure that my layers are all on the screen. Shift Control Command 4. And then I hit the space bar, so it takes a picture of the entire window interface. And I'd copy and paste that over to my blog. And then we need one full quality one, Shift Control Command 4. And in this case, I'm not going to hit the space bar because I'm just going to screenshot this image. Now, if you want the full quality version, which of course you'll want to save so that you can maybe reopen it, work on it later, or just reuse this effect. If you've got a project down the road where you think, oh, where was that glitch effect? How did I do that? If you have this file, you'll be able to come back and do this exact same thing. Load in a new image, and you're good to go in just a few seconds. So go ahead and choose a Save As, and save this as something you'll remember. 1450 glitch effect. Add glitch effect, and then I'm going to click Save. So that, along with the instructions, should get you through. So when you go through, you're going to follow through the tutorial. You're going to add text to kind of create a promo, cool little tagline, create a new blog post, and put all of those screenshots in. So here you can see the example, making a glitch artifact with the clipping mask, the original image, and then the final image that I had here in the photo. Now, if you wanted to go and have even more fun, I noticed my skin doesn't really look very glitchy. I look very kind of normal. So we could also take some of these, like the glitch copy, and see what it looks like with different blend modes. So I'm just going to select that layer, and as I move through these different blend modes, you see that's going to change the way it blends with the patterns underneath. Let's go back and leave it at normal, and then let's grab the pattern, and let's see what happens when we change those blend modes. So I'll change that pattern and switch this to some of these other blend modes. And actually I get a little bit cooler and a little bit more interesting of a blend. In fact, I kind of like screen. That's pretty cool. And while we're at it, what if I just take this bottom one and I go through and adjust the way it blends? Well, in this case, there's nothing underneath it, so there's nothing for it to blend with. So, but as it is right now, I feel like we're getting somewhere. We've actually got interesting sort of visual happening, and you'll notice just by trying some of these different blend modes, we can create our own unique approach that works really cool. So once you've got this, you should be good to go. Turn around and apply that same process to other images. And here you can see a sample I made with my daughter, who I think was dressed as this for Halloween. So we went through the background lighting effect. I took the photo of her. I removed the background using a similar process, created the background lighting effect. You can, of course, change the colors or make it unique, make it your own. And then I created the text here that I then used a layer mask to hide behind her hat. So we've got all the above as examples. All right, well, hopefully that is good to get you working through those and building your own, and you understand exactly what you need to do. If you have any questions, you know how to reach out and touch base. I'm looking forward to seeing you in class, and we'll see you next time.